Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Crisis at Crystal Reef, the final novel in the Young Jedi Knights book series by Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Mesta. Yes, this is the final book in the series. It not only ties up this little trilogy of books that included Return to Ord Mantell and Trouble on Cloud City, and then this is the third book, Crisis at Crystal Reef, but it also ties up storylines and character journeys for the entire 14-book series. And so this book had a lot of heavy lifting to do, and it's also, ironically, one of the shortest books in the series, which is quite interesting to me. This book is two major plot lines going on. You have a plot line, the crux of the story is that the character Anja Galandro, who is dealing with a ton of stuff. She's got some drug addiction, she's got some resentment about Han Solo, who she thinks killed her father, she has her feelings about the Young Jedi Knights, she's got her feelings about her former boss, Zethros. She's got all these things going on, and the drug stuff is really bothering her. And so she tries to go out to get more drugs, and so she steals a ship, goes out to get it. And the Young Jedi Knights go to try to rescue her and keep her from getting the drugs. And that's the basic crux of the story, and it splits into two. The one story that happens is on Kessel, where there's all the spice mines. And there, Jaina and Lobaka basically are sent to stop Zethros from overtaking Kessel. His plan is to, if he can overtake Kessel, the spice mines, then he'll have enough financial power for the Black Sun, his organization, to take over other parts of the galaxy. And so Jaina and Lobaka have to protect Kessel there. Then the other plot line deals with the other Jedi Knights, like Tenel Ka, Jason, and Zek, who are all chasing after Anja, when she goes to Mon Calamari, because that's where some spice is. And of the two storylines, the Mon Cala storyline was much more interesting to me. One, because it felt much more personal, much more connected, whereas the Kessel storyline felt much more by the numbers. It felt like, okay, action sequence here, they save the day, yeah, typical stuff. But there was a freshness to the storyline on Mon Calamari because our main characters are dealing with really difficult stuff. Anja is addicted to this spice, and they're trying to get her to stop. And there's a sequence where she is just about to, punch a wall. She is that going crazy from her spice addiction. And Zek and Tenel Ka sit down and basically talk to her. And they really just try to be her friend and try to help her out in that moment. And for a kid's book series, it was so hard-hitting, and it was so sweet and so well done. And it demonstrates the dangers of taking drugs, while at the same time demonstrating how to have proper forgiveness for someone. And I thought the series was going to end in a much different way, and I was very happy with the way it ended and the way that the Young Jedi Knights were able to resolve the situations. Of course, there's some fun monsters that they deal with on Mon Calamari, and some cool world-building stuff on both Mon Cala and on Kessel. And if you've read other parts of the Star Wars universe, particularly some of Kevin J. Anderson's other stuff, some of the New Jedi Order stuff, which was published later, you'll see some cool Easter eggs in this book as well. However, this book did something that I did not expect it to do, which was to have a really powerful ending for the whole new Young Jedi Knights series as a whole. Up until the ending of this, up until the last two chapters, they could have continued on the Young Jedi Knights series. They could have just written these in perpetuity, because it was obvious that the characters were aging out, that they were getting too old for the types of stories that are happening, which is why this is a much more mature storyline than maybe, say, the first books in the series. But still, they could have kept continuing these books. However, the last two chapters of this book, the last 20 pages, are essentially like a series epilogue for the whole thing. You're getting characters from the previous books showing up, you're getting their families, you're getting all this wrap-up. for a proper, like, kind of a ceremony type thing. And they're not actually promoted to Jedi Knights in the ceremony, but they're getting kind of that recognition. I believe that Kevin and Rebecca wanted to promote them to full Jedi Knights, and because of where they were taking the story in the New Jedi Order, they were told you can't do that, so they kind of had to find a middle ground. But that whole ending sequence was just so brilliant, not only because it ties up all the loose ends on like a plot line and connecting characters, but also it does some things on an intimate level. So there's two characters who are basically shipped in the series, and I love these two ships. I think they're great, and it's interesting to see where they go. One of them is the Zek and Jaina ship, and the other one is the Jason and Tenelka ship. Now, Jason and Tenelka have gotten a ton of attention in the previous books in the series, and there's a few books that you can highlight. Maybe Lightsabers is one, Trouble on Cloud City is another, maybe Jedi Bounty. Some of those, they have really intimate character moments between them. Even Diversity Alliance has some great moments. And then you also have, in this book, there's not much between them, but in this epilogue, you get just the sweetest moment that basically is telegraphing to the audience, we've known through the whole 14 books, oh, they kind of like each other. There's this kind of something going on here. And then finally, they're like, okay, we're nudging you. We're elbowing you in the ribs. We're letting you know this is a thing. And it was just delightful to see that kind of a payoff. And to see the way Jason gives Tenelka something, and the way she receives it, and the way that she compliments him is just the best. But then also, Zek and Jaina have had a much more subdued relationship. Ever since Zek's introduction in the Lost Ones, you've known that there's kind of something there, but in the early books, it's more like a friendship. And then as it develops, you can tell Zek kind of has a crush on Jaina, and Jaina wishes he has a crush on her, but there's not actually that much there. But in this book, in the first chapter, they're not hiding it anymore. They're like, all right, we have to accelerate this, and so they start that off and start alluding to things in the middle of the book, and then at the end of the book, when the Jason Tenelka stuff's happening, they also throw in something for the Zek and Jaina shippers, which if you know. If you've read further on in the timeline, you know what happens to both Jason and Tenelka's relationship and to Jaina and Zek's. And in some ways it's great, and in some ways it's terrible. All right, that's all I'll say about that. But I loved the way they did that epilogue, and it really made me value reading this series in order. I started, I'd read the series, I'd read about 2/3 of the series, maybe not even that. Maybe a little less than 2/3 of the series back when I was like 13 or 14. And then I promptly stopped reading it because I just didn't have any more books in the series. And it wasn't like I had like the first first third or anything. It was I had a few here, and I just read them all. So I basically knew the overarching story anyway. But ever since September 2019, I decided to pick up Heirs to the Force, the first book in the series, and every couple of months since then, I've kind of been slowly going through. And then this year in 2023, I decided to just go through the last 7 books in the series, just read them all in order, one a month. And I feel so rewarded for doing that, because there's plot lines and character moments that even in a kid's series that's only 200 pages long, that's, probably 40,000 words long, even in this type of kids series, you feel like things are being paid off, and you feel like the authors are rewarding you for sticking with it. And so I really, really appreciated that in this book and in the whole series as well. So this gets a really high rating. In terms of the actual plot of the majority of the book, it's fine. But the payoffs in this book and the character development is what carries this into another level. And the themes are really good. So I would give this book an 8.5 out of 10, really solid, and I will be having a ranking eventually of the entire 14-book series. But if you've read Crisis at Crystal Reef, or any of the Young Jedi Knights books, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What did you think of this kind of epilogue at the end and all that stuff? And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.